Okay, we have a question here. A manufacturing firm reduces the hourly wage of its machine operators from 25 kwacha to 20 kwacha, which results in the number of machine operators employed rising from 100 to 125. Law, the law of demand, remember, here in labor economics, there's an inverse relationship between the labor demanded and the wage rate. Meaning, at high wages, employers are not going to want a lot of workers. And at lower wages, employers will want and can manage to hire a lot of workers. Ceteris paribus. Okay, so here the wage rate has dropped and the number of workers has increased from 100 to 125. Meanwhile, due to this change, the firm also reduces its hiring of manual loaders, whose numbers fall from 80 to 70%. Okay, 80 to 70. So calculate the own wage elasticity of demand for machine operators and interpret the result. Okay, so wage elasticity of demand is how the quantity of labor demanded responds to changes in the wage rate. Okay. How much employers are willing to hire, how that responds to changes in the wage rate. When we say demand is elastic, demand for labor is elastic, it means the demand for labor is sensitive to changes in wages. Meaning you can increase the wage rate by 1%, you find the quantity of labor demanded will drop by even 20%. And when we say the demand for labor is inelastic, it means the demand for labor is not that responsive or sensitive to changes in the wage rate. Okay, so if the wage rate increases even by 20%, you find the number of workers might just reduce by 5%. Okay, so here it's just the same as saying we get the percent change. So the wage elasticity of demand, okay, this is the formula here. Percent change in the quantity of labor demanded divided by the percent change in the wage rate. Okay, so we get our information. The initial wage was 25 kwacha, it dropped to 20 kwacha. The initial number of workers was 100 kwacha, no, 100 workers. Now it increased to 125 workers. So let's get the percent change in the quantity of labor, which is new minus old divided by old. Okay, new minus old divided by old. So that's Q2 minus Q1 divided by Q1 times 100%. So 125 minus 100 divided by 100 times 100. You get 25%. Any questions on that one? What was the law I stated earlier about wages and quantity of labor demanded? Mhm. So here it's all about how the quantity demanded of labor responds to changes in the wage rate. Okay, how it responds to changes in the wage rate. Meaning, if the wage rate here in this case, let's see first the percent change in the wage rate. New minus old divided by old, 20 minus 25 divided by 25 times 100. we get negative 20%. So now let me illustrate what I'm talking about here. We said wage elasticity of demand is how quantity of labor demanded responds to changes in the wage rate, right? So we say there is elastic demand and there's inelastic. So with elastic demand, we start with elastic. Let me see. The quantity of labor demanded is sensitive to the wage. Okay. Here, look at this question here. The wage rate dropped by 20%. Quantity demanded of increased by 25%. Have you seen? So it's very responsive. Okay. Eh, And then when we say demand is inelastic, it means it's not that responsive. Okay. So here I can already tell. Just remember when the wage rate increases more than the quantity demanded, just know it's elastic. Like this case here. Mhm. All right. Yes. So the wage elasticity of demand, percent change in quantity of labor demanded, which is 25%, divided by percent change in the wage rate, which is negative 20%. 25 divided by 20, negative 20 divided by negative 20, we get negative 1.25. So a negative value, it it will always be telling us that demand is inelastic. Why? Because if your wage elasticity of demand is less than one, then demand is inelastic. Okay. So to prevent us always interpreting all the demands to be inelastic, we have to get rid of this negative value so that we see is the number less than or greater than one, so that we can determine if it's elastic or inelastic. Okay. So what I said, madam, I'm explaining the reason why you have to ignore this negative sign here. Once, because every time you calculate wage elasticity of demand, you get a negative sign. Why? Because of the inverse relationship between the demand for labor and the wage rate. So when you're always calculating these questions, you're always going to get negative answers. Okay. Every time, there will never be an instance where you won't get a negative answer. Every time you calculate such type of questions, you always get negative answers. Now, when we're determining if a good is elastic or inelastic, we compare our answer to one. Okay. So now, since you always be getting negative values, it means always you'll be interpreting that demand is inelastic. So you have to get rid of the negative value so that you just focus on the number alone that you've calculated and compare it to one. Is that okay, madam? Eh, the last part is okay, but the first part where you say that you say what you said again at first. Hold there, hold there, hold there. Hold on, madam. Hold on, madam. As I said, your sentence at first where you say the elasticity is always greater than zero. That's, I would say, don't put it like that. Just know that when you get your wage elasticity of demand, ignore the negative side. Compare your answer to one. It's less than one, inelastic. As okay. If it's greater than one, elastic, like this case here. Inelastic. And then greater than one is elastic. Okay, I think there's some truth to a sentence where say it's always greater than zero. It's always greater than. But the thing about it is, when you're calculating your answers, you'll get answers that are less than. Okay, I get what you're saying. So here, demand is elastic, meaning quantity demanded for. So this is the interpretation. It means the quantity demanded for the labor is responsive to the wage rate. As we can see here, the wage rate the wage rate reduced by 20%, but then the quantity of labor demanded increased by a greater percentage. So, and since our value is greater than one, so that's why the demand is elastic. Then what I've just written here. Yeah. So just remember when the percent change for the wage is less than the percent change for quantity demanded, like here, that's not elastic. And if the percent change of the wage was greater than the percent change of the quantity demanded, then you say inelastic. Okay. So what would be the cause for to make some jobs, certain um, jobs, the demand for those jobs elastic? What factors can make demand for certain jobs elastic, and what factors can make jobs for demand for certain jobs inelastic? Meaning, we'll start with elastic. What factors would cause a job where, if the wage rate increases or decreases, the change in the quantity is going to be a bigger amount than the wage rate? So, meaning if they increase the wage rate by 10%, you find the quantity of labor is going to drop by 30%. What could cause certain jobs demand to be elastic, and what can cause certain jobs demand for certain jobs to be inelastic? Have you got my question? The job that you work in, okay, the job that your position there, if the wage rate increases and your company lays off majority of you, meaning demand for your job is elastic. So now what factors could cause that? Okay. Let's say in your job, yeah, about 100 of you, the wage rate increases by 5% and your job gets rid of 70 of you. That's elastic demand. The wage rate has just increased by 5%, but your job gets rid of 70 of you, which is 70% of you. What factors can cause that to happen? Mhm. Yeah. Yes. Mm, mhm. Yes. So unskilled jobs, those are the demand is elastic, meaning when the wage rate increases, the company will get rid of a lot of you. Okay? But a skilled job, the wage rate increases, the company knows that they still need. So let's say if you are 10 and the wage rate has increased by 10%, and the company just, let's say, cuts off one wage, that's where we can say demand is inelastic there. Okay? You are 10 people, the wage rate has increased even by 10%, but the company just gets rid of one person, which is also like uh, lower. Let's assume it's even lower than 10%. The quantity demanded drops lower than 10%. Then there you can say demand is inelastic because the company still needs the people. So even though the wage rate increases, they can't get rid of a lot of you because your skills are important for the company. And as was mentioned, ease of substitution with machinery. The company can easily replace these workers with machinery. If the wage rate increases, they'll just say, okay, no, let's buy a new machine. We can get rid of a lot of these people, and our labor costs will be cheap. But if you cannot easily substitute your workers with capital, not easily substitute labor and capital, then you can't get rid of majority of the workers. Yes. So, Madam Mary, you explained that well. Yeah. Skill level, ease of substitution can affect elasticity of labor demand. The more a job needs skills, the more inelastic the demand. The harder it is to switch the labor with capital, the more inelastic the demand for labor is, and vice versa. There can be other factors, okay? Maybe are there any other factors you can think of? So that should this come, you should fill the paper with a lot of explanations. All right. So now we're going to go to the next part, which is this one here for the cross wage elasticity of demand. Here, what we're comparing now is the quantity demanded of another job with the wage rate of another job. Okay. The quantity demanded for another job or another role, this is the wage rate for another job or for another role. So in this question here, there are two roles. There's the machine operator and the what was this other role here? Manual loaders. Okay. So we want to see how this change in the wage rate for the machine operators affects the demand for the manual loaders. Okay, that's a cross wage elasticity of demand. How the wage rate of one another job or another position is affected by the how the wage rate of another job or another position is affected by the or how the quantity demanded of one job or another position is affected by the wage rate of another job or another position. That's what we're trying to find out. How the quantity demanded of the manual loaders is affected by the wage rate of machine operators. Okay. So just like how we did wage elasticity of demand, here cross wage elasticity of demand is the percent change the quantity demanded for manual loaders divided by the percent change in the wage rate of machine operators. Okay. Just like in microeconomics, where you get cross price elasticity of demand, how the quantity demanded of one good is affected by the price of another good. Here, we're replacing goods with people, and the price is the wage rate. So, as in micro, the cross price elasticity of demand is to determine substitute goods and complementary goods. Here, you want to see or compare if these two jobs are they substitute jobs or complementary jobs. Meaning, can you switch a manual loader with a thing, a machine operator? Or do you need them? That's when we say the jobs are substitutes, okay? Where you can switch um, one row with another row. And you say those are substitute jobs, okay? Then if complementary jobs, it means those people need, you can't substitute them. They work hand in hand together, okay? So if these jobs are complementary, then it means the manual loader has to put into the excavator. Then the excavator does its job. Okay. But if these jobs are substitutes, you can replace that manual load with an excavate. Uh, what are these guys called? The operators, the machine operators. Okay. So if so, this is the principle. If your cross wage elasticity of demand is positive, it means the jobs are substitutes. You can replace one row with another row, meaning you can replace a machine operator with a manual load. You can replace them. Okay? That's if they are substitutes. But if your cross wage elasticity of demand is negative, means the jobs are complementary, means they need each other. One can't work without the other. Okay? So if we get a negative value, then it means you cannot switch a machine operator with a manual load. Now, if we look in reality aspects, we can we can switch a manual loader with a machine operator, because this the guy who's working the machine can also do all the manual loading. So we expect our answer to be positive, because in real life we can expect that. Okay, we can just get rid of manual loaders, get more machine operators. The machine operators will be doing what the manual loaders are doing. So as I said, it's the percent change in the quantity demanded of manual loaders divided by the percent change in the wage rate of machine operators. Okay, so you do Q2 minus Q1 over Q1. Remember, they had 80 manual loaders. Now it's dropped to 70 manual loaders. Okay, so you're going to do 70 minus 80 divided by 80. You get negative 12.5%. Then remember the percent change in the wage rate, we got negative 20%. We get negative 20%. So we're going to say 20 minus 25, that is 5. 5 divided by 25, that's 0.2. You still get negative 20%. Okay. So the cross wage elasticity of demand, percent change in the quantity of the number of manual loaders divided by the percent change in the wage rate of machine operators. You get a positive value, 0.625. So this indicates the jobs are substitutes. Okay, the jobs are substitutes. Okay, you can get rid of manual loaders and replace them with machine operators. Okay, and vice versa. If you want, you can get rid of machine operators and hire more manual loaders. Any questions? Mhm. Yes. Or just know if a wage rate drops and the quantity demanded drops for another job, it means those people who have lost jobs are being replaced by other people. But as I said, yes, positive substitute jobs, negative complementary jobs. Okay? Yes.